Hello, my name is Caitlin Page. I'm Content and Student Engagement Manager at BMES and moderator for today's session. Thank you for joining part one of the Student Chapter Excellence Insights from Award-Winning Teams webinar. Throughout the webinar, feel free to submit any questions you have in the Q&A box. We'll make sure to address them at the end of the session. I'm here with University of California, Irvine Commendable Achievement Award, University of South Florida Mentoring Program Award, and University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign Societal Impact Award. So let's go ahead and get started. Can each of you briefly introduce yourselves and describe your chapter's journey to receiving your award in 2024?
Hi, everyone. My name is Neha. I'm the president for the BMES chapter at the University of California, Irvine. To kind of briefly summarize our journey, our board is a very strong group of people who are really motivated to presenting events to our students in the best way with the most resources as possible. So just focusing on that and expanding our campus-wide presence, receiving support from our faculty, and support from the community in general has been really vital in our journey towards receiving the award.
Hello everyone, my name is Farida. I'm the president of Biomedical Engineering Society, University of South Florida chapter, and we won the Outstanding Mentoring Program Award. And our chapter's journey to receive this recognition was based on our, obviously our great mentors and mentees, but in addition to our usual mentorship program that we have in our chapter, we also took an initiative and started mentoring program at a local high school and introduced them the field of the biomedical engineering and taught them and guided them in their journey and also helped them to make a project. And we believe that all of this progress helped us to receive this recognition.
Hi everyone, I'm Megha. I'm the president of BMES, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and I would say our journey to receiving this award stems from our communication and involvement within the university, not just with engineering students, but with all students here. We don't really have a major requirement or time commitment requirement. We do a lot of events with different like public schools or just EOH, which is our like big project-based competition on campus. And we have in the past won nationals awards as well, like outreach award, which was my freshman year, and now I'm a senior. But some of that's is what's like really impacted in our winning this award.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that brief summary. So we'll break down now our questions by the award. So we'll start with the Commendable Achievement. So I know our other chapters want to know what specific initiatives or programs that you implemented do you feel set you apart from the other chapters in this past award series?
Yeah, I think we definitely took a lot more initiative this year, but even last year, like starting off with a stronger foot, creating new, like bigger programs, led us to win the Outstanding Achievement Award last year and now the Commendable Achievement Award. So I think our board and their innovative ideas, whether that's through a pitch competition or an event for incoming UCI students, or just like any like track that we have for high schoolers versus students who are interested in getting their technical skills. A lot of like ideas and innovations have like taken place over the past couple of years. And I feel like the students in our BMES chapter are a very important part of that because they always come up with new ideas and new things to try, and it always works out in the way that we plan. Obviously, there are some road bumps that come along the way, but overall, it's been really great. And I think that's the biggest reason why it set our chapter apart.
So, in terms of the chapter development reports, kind of shifting gears a little bit, how did you feel that you guys were able to effectively showcase those initiatives that you were talking about? Did you have any specific strategies in that?
Yeah. So for every event that's planned, each of our board member like sectors, they receive a document that has like a template of planning. So at the top, it'll be like describe the event, like what the purpose was, the goals, the feedback, anything that you would change. And so for every event, one of those would be filled out. When compilating the CDR, then all of those abstracts would be ready to go and they would just need slight edits. And so writing those abstracts like right after the event was very vital in so that we could always do it when the event was fresh in our minds. And then when compiling the CDR, it was just easier to just grab those abstracts and put them into our CDR. And so we didn't have to go back and remember what we did earlier in the year when we were compiling it in the middle of the year. So that was very effective on our end.
Thank you so much. We'll jump over to Farida Youssef for the mentoring program. How did your chapter measure success and impact of the mentoring program?
I would say we measured our success with the number of participation, which was really important factor in our mentoring program theme, especially because starting from last year, our mentorship program had their own theme. So, for example, last year, it was Spider-Man, and this year it was avatars. So, if we speak about, for example, this year, each time the mentors and mentees would meet each other, they would basically collect Infinity Stones. And each group would also be divided into some Avengers. And if one group of Avengers would get more Infinity Stones, they would basically win. And I would say just to even receive those Infinity Stones, people starting participating a lot. But in the beginning, it was just for the purpose of winning the game. But later on, we realized that mentees and mentors were meeting just also for their own good, because they realized that actually meeting with their mentors can have really huge impact in their educational and professional life, because basically their mentors would help them to get experience in research labs or help them in making their resumes. And those all factors combined, I would say, showed our success and impact in improving the mentoring program.
I was muted. So how in your chapter development report did you approach communicating tangible outcomes of the mentoring program? Did you use any specific metrics in that, or did you use more like stories?
Yes, so we would basically divided our mentoring program into two sections, because we have mentoring program at USF and also at the local high school. So basically, first of all, went through to our USF mentoring program, which would basically match upperclassmen with underclassmen. And first of all, we gave like whole introduction about an overview of how the program is going through and what's the purpose, and how we basically divide them into groups based on themes, and what kind of reward they receive as a participation. And after that, we basically went through each event that we did related to mentoring. And also, as similar to the previous chapter, we also write the outcome, first of all, major goal of the event, and the outcome and attendance number, and also some pictures to visualize it and make it a little bit prettier. And we also did the same process in our high school mentor program as well.
Thank you so much for the insight. So we'll jump over now to University of Illinois. Could you share some of the most impactful projects your chapter implemented and how they contributed to societal change?
Yeah, the first and most major change we implemented that year was have our first ever DEI chair. So we did like belonging in BMES or belonging in a specific culture. We did like a Diwali and Ramadan events, stuff like that, something that BMES had never done. We did fundraising for American Cancer Society, which we do every year. We like pick a different NGO to work with. And then we first participated in medical device makeathon. And it was a 48-hour basic like hackathon where you ideated and prototyped a big a medical device that would like impact society in a good way. And this year we're actually co-hosting it. So that was a big step. We also had Genome there, and we do like Champaign Public Library outreach where we do events with Champaign Public Library and people who come there. This year we've made it a note to do it every month. So every month we are volunteering at Champaign Public Library, doing different kinds of like making a robotic hand or like with straws and paper or something like that every month. We also started a mentorship program, not within just BMES, but with an elementary school that's called Leal Elementary School up in Urbana. Um, like our volunteers teach like it's a month-long science fair basically, and we just go teach them like basic science and try to get them more um, acclaimed to science and bioengineering as a whole. And then EOH is, if you don't know what EOH is, it stands for Engineering Open House. It's University of Illinois' big competition. It's a whole weekend. Like it's not a competition, but it's like people come and present different things that they've been working on, and like everyone like from the Champaign area community comes, even non-students. And with this year we had about 50 people participating through us, and we even won first prize for one of our operations stations, which was a 3D printed like organ modeling device. And we, as always, Bioengineering Your Impact is an event we had for incoming freshmen who are either have accepted bioengineering as their major or are prospective bioengineering students or prospective transfer students, where we teach them what bioengineering really is at the U of I by doing like basic events like strawberry DNA extraction, or this year I believe we're doing like carbon dioxide, like you can see carbon dioxide through something. I'm not very sure on the science, but and like doing our Carl Hospital here has a jump modulation simulator, jump simulation, which is like it's a patient and you can basically like see what happens if you give it different like systems to work with. So those are some of our society impacts that we do in addition to our mentorship program. So I believe that these are some of the things that like helped us win this award.
Awesome. So clearly you guys are staying busy. So how did you, in your reports, what steps did you take to ensure your report reflected the true scope and outcome of your efforts?
So all of our events have a number of attendees that we track, and we track how many volunteers we had at each event, how much we spend at each event. We in a very detailed manner say this in our CDR, and I believe you can see our CDR because I believe it's published online, and we always show our future goals in addition to our current goals, and we talk about all our events and all our exec members' attendance, all our committee members' attendance, and just we put a lot of photos on. I believe like a lot of people are visual learners, and it's a good way for them to see instead of just reading a whole document to see how like how fun our events are. And we obviously provide like old CDRs for reference. So this year we're providing the CDR from last year, and we just see how our society has grown and like in alignment with like our overall mission.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you brought up that point because all CDRs are available at bmes.org/awards/student chapters. So you can see copies of that on that side. So we can open it up now to our Q&A, which we already have a couple questions in there. So the first question is, are all of your student chapters for undergrad or graduate student bodies? I can answer this. They are, but if anyone wants to kind of open up to see like what the split is, regarding like graduate chapters and your undergrad chapters.
Yeah, I can go first. So our BMES chapter is open to everyone, regardless of their major, the type of student that they are, undergrad or grad students. But we also have an official Graduate Association of Biomedical Engineering Students, or GABES, at our school. And so we do a lot of collaborations with them. I think a lot of the grad students here at UCI are part of the GABES chapter in biomedical engineering or even outside of, but hosting those collaborative events brings out both grad students and undergrad students, and advertising events in both organization socials really helps like connect that boundary between undergrads and grad students.
For us, being a Big Ten public school, we have a lot of students here. So for us, we have a separation between undergrad BMES and grad BMES, but we do sometimes do events together.
Yeah, we don't really have the separation because in our university, BME in general is a really limited program. And so undergrads and grad students are all in the same chapter, and most of the time, grad students are actually the mentors to the undergrad students.
Thank you. And from that same student, actually, do you typically hold the same events every year, or did you initiate new events/programs the year you won the award?
I could answer that. So for us, we did initiate a new program, which was the high school mentoring program that actually helped us to receive this recognition. Because before that, we never actually reached out to high school students and basically asked them if they would be interested in learning about biomedical engineering in the field itself, and if they would be interested in actually having a project with them. And last year, we basically did that first initiative. And we were lucky enough that some couple of those high schools came back to us, and we decided to work with the Carolwood Day School. And we did have a project with them after mentoring them in BME, and we still continue our project with them this year as well.
I can go next. I would say for us, we do both. Like we try to build on our old events on top of adding new events. Like our Makeathon was the first time we participated, and every year we did volunteer with Champaign Public Library. But this year we've built on that and made it a every month thing. So it just depends on what kind of event there is. Like bioengineering your impact is an event that we do every year, but we switch up the activity every year depending on how many people are going to come. I believe the year I hosted it, we did strawberry DNA extraction, but this year we're doing like carbon dioxide. Like you can visualize carbon dioxide coming off out of the molecules. I don't know the like real science behind it, but it just depends on how the event is being built up, if it can be built upon.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Megha said, because a couple years ago we started really large initiatives with high school outreach and our project program for technical skills, and since they've worked, we repeated those events just bigger and better, reiterating on things that might have worked, changing the event to like based on feedback, but also every year, even if it's the smallest workshop, we try something new to make sure that like our students remain engaged, even if they are returning members.
Thank you. Okay, the next question we have, after graduating, is there a way to stay involved with your chapters?
For us, there is because we have an executive board member whose job is industrial relations and alumni relations. So they keep in touch with our alumni and just try to do events and connect with them. So yeah, for us, you can stay as part of and the alumni network.
Our faculty and our BMES chapter are working together right now on this issue, actually, just to make sure that we have connections with all our students who graduate, whether they were part of our chapter or just BME students in general. But in order to stay involved with our chapter, our mentorship program, we have professional mentors for each group, whether that be they're in industry, grad student, or medical students. In that way, the students who really want to come back and give back to the BME community or just the engineering community here in general can do so through our mentorship program or through panels and stuff like that.
For us, we also keep in touch with our alumni, and our industry and outreach chair is actually working on that. So she has like a really big document that basically is tracking all of our alumni and where are they, what they're doing, and where they're doing after graduation. And we're lucky that some of them secured really good positions at really good companies, and they help us to actually tour their companies and to give basically insight into still undergrad students what working in an actual BMU field could look like.
Thank you. And it looks like this is our last question, unless any come in while you guys are answering this one. But it says, how do the officers and members have time to plan and participate in so many events? Our chapter is still very new, and we are struggling with balancing the availability of our busy BME students and the time and dates of events.
I think this is sorry. I think this is an issue that we continue to struggle with because everybody is so busy, and everybody who's involved in our BMES chapter is also very involved on campus. So it's definitely an issue we keep seeing, but I think for the past couple years, especially this past year, we've prioritized quality over quantity. So whether that be hosting technical workshops bi-weekly instead of weekly, or even like high school outreach programs bi-weekly instead of weekly, or things like that. Limiting the amount of workshops, but also increasing the quality of each one really impacts, like we see an increase in attendance, we see an increase in the impact that we are giving our students. So instead of like a lot of events, we try and do a little bit less, but also our board is pretty big. I say we have about 19 people, and so balancing how many people can come out to each event and support, not necessarily having everybody at every single one, but if like a lot of people can find that time and spread out board members across all the events, then that also keeps engagement pretty high and reduces event fatigue.
I would say that participation and attendance are like always an issue. So for that reason, we have 10 exec board members who all plan events, and they're different kinds of events. So there's like no commitment for each student to come to each event. And I would say just the way that like deal with attendance or like volunteering is that we do the same kind of events again and again. For example, if there was a resume review, we would do it around career fair season so more people come. We just, for our planning, we have an Excel sheet where we put all our events for our planning, and then we put it on the Google Calendar, in our newsletter, in our group meets, for everyone to come to. And we keep like iterating that, oh, our event is happening here, please come if you are interested in this. And I think like just constantly engaging the students and your members really gets attendance up. And like not, I mean, to contradict what Naya said, we do like more events of the same kind. It's just like if a person has an exam the next day, they probably won't come, but they could come to the same event next week. So we just find that to be easier for us.
I would say for us, we are a little bit lucky that our program is limited, and that's why we have a chance to know most of people's schedule. So, for example, once you're a junior and senior, everyone has the same class schedule, and it's no difference. And I would say it's the same case with the sophomores. So, most of them have the same class schedule. And so what we basically do is once all of our e-board members know their schedule, we plan the dates in advance. So, for example, in summer, we would actually plan the possible dates for the fall semester and see what are the possible times that students are actually available to have an event. And that's why most of the time we have our events in the evening so that everyone is actually out of class. And we also make sure to serve free food because obviously it's students and faculty who are coming to our events, and at the event it's their dinner time, and you need to give them some purpose to come and also attend. And also another thing that as the other chapters mentioned, we also do technical events bi-weekly, and we make sure that in between we also have social events. So for example, movie night or game night. So instead of coming and learning new things after your class, it can be really exhausting, but at least watching a movie or watching a Marvel movie, for example, or playing some games with other students are more relaxing in compared to having technical skills and doing all those stuff every week. That would be more tiring.
We have a question that asks, how many members do each of your chapters have?
We have 10 executive board members, and we have about 20 committee members who help our exec board members. And then we have about 150 general members, which is really good because our department is like 300 people in total. So
For us, we have 14 executive members or officers, and our members are 200, around that range.
Yeah, so we have, well, I guess our definitions of executive and board members are a little bit different for each chapter, but we have 3 executive board members, and then 16 board members that plan our events. And then we have around 200-ish members that are registered with our chapter, but our events are open to everyone, so it could reach to a bit more, a bit less. So.
And then we have, and I knew this would happen, more questions came in while you guys were answering them. So we have, do you have any tips for new chapters that are looking to showcase their events in the CDR or show how they have grown their chapter, especially in the context of the new student chapter award?
I think we made the jump from the Societal Impact Award to the Outstanding Achievement Award a couple years ago. And so in order to do that, I feel like the change that we made in our CDR specifically was adding a lot more pictures. Like Megha said, it's also really important to have pictures and showcase, how much your chapter has grown in that way. But I think another big thing that we did was incorporating more positive and negative feedback, or like critical criticism, in our abstracts for each event. So that shows that you've grown, and your events have grown, but it also shows that like you have room to improve and your chapter has room to grow as well. So I think that's really important. That's something that we have been trying to do every single year after that.
Okay. And then what looks like to be the last question again. It says, our board is pretty standard and consists of 9 officers. Are there any pros or cons of having more officers? And are there any positions you've integrated into the board that has had a significant impact on events and the club?
We started our first DEI chair last semester, and I believe that really helped, like, not general members, but just because the attendance with general members was kind of low, but just BMES members, executive board members, and committee members to come to our events and just hang out and like really understand what BMES is and like the culture itself, and like do events like Ramadan craft night or Diwali craft night, or just learn about different cultural events. And so we did a DEI movie night. I think that was very special. But I do believe like adding irrelevant positions might, just unhelpful positions could like lead to too much like chaos. But currently, if a board member has too much work, I would like advise you to split it up. For example, for us, we're in conversation to have an external VP, or instead of just having one VP position, and have an alumni relations chair separate from industrial relations chair, just because we are trying to expand our industrial network and just handling all the GM general meetings and all the alumni stuff for our IR chair is getting kind of out of hand. And the same with our VP. Our VP handles all the conference planning, grad school planning, and the Makeathon planning. And we are in conversation to like split that up, just because Makeathon as we're co-hosting the Makeathon, it's becoming more and more expensive. So if needed, I would suggest adding more board members, or something you could also do to split up the responsibilities is have a committee. If you don't want it to be a board member separately, having a committee is very helpful because committees can have multiple people, so you can have multiple inputs and then take a final decision with your board.
Yeah, I also really agree with that opinion. And I would say that extending the e-board really depends on what you as an organization do and if you're planning to make more events. So for example, this year we're planning to separate the high school coordinator because this year we actually decided that both mentorship coordinator and the research and development co-chairs would actually go to that local high school and help them with the project because R&D co-chairs had more I would say knowledge or background related to the project that we were doing this year. But we decided to also add high school coordinator because apart from the high school projects that we are doing, we also have projects that we do within the university with university students. And we realized that having those two different projects at the same time was a little bit challenging for both R&D co-chairs and also for the mentorship coordinator, since they were trying to manage USF's own program and also the high school program. That's why we decided to add a new coordinator for that purpose. And we also decided to add career fair chair under the industry and outreach position because started from last year, we also started having career fair specifically for biomedical engineering students and reaching out to companies regularly and following up with them is a lot of work. And our industry and outreach chair also has other responsibilities besides the career fairs, such as organizing industry tours or emailing to representatives to come to our university. And that's why we decided to add that position. So I would say extending your e-board would be solely dependent on what your plans are for the organization in the future.
So we had a few more questions come in. Does your chapter specifically, should I say, provide your graduating seniors members with cords or stoles? They are brainstorming ideas, and BMES does not provide this.
Yeah, we have our graphic designer design stoles each year, and we have our graduating members, if they would want the option of having a stole, they can purchase one. We try and make it as affordable as possible, trying to go with like a cheaper vendor and just make sure that the balance between a good price and good quality, but we do have stoles available for our graduated members to purchase.
We don't have any of that. We just have senior cords that we give as gifts, and we do some senior gifts, like few handwritten cards and stuff like that. So just like gifts, there's nothing for, we don't like make money off any merch.
Next question, how do you get funding for your chapters?
For us, the department doesn't give us any money. We try to use campus resources for our funding, and we also do not get any corporate funding or any grants or donations or anything. So we have a student org fund on campus. We ask them for money, or we use like the award money, or we use engineering council, which is the overall head organization of all engineering RSOs on our campus. So they give us money. But other than that, we like try to fundraise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think fundraisers are pretty big. We also do have an engineering student council that distributes money to all our engineering student orgs that the dean's office may have available. For certain events that are larger, that require a lot more funding, there is a student outreach and retention center on campus. So affiliating with organizations like those, we can apply for money. And based on like our activities and our budget, then they can approve. I think the highest I've seen is like 10 grand, which is quite a lot of money. And also like any like larger events that are in support of increasing relations between faculty, grad students, and undergrads, our department is more than happy to fund partially or fully for us as well. Just a lot of I think on-campus grants as well for like larger events too. So just going out and seeing what resources we have, what just budgeting is really important just to make sure that we don't use too much money, and at the same time we can try and make the most of all the grants and the resources available.
And have you experienced difficulties convincing BME students to become part of BMES? And what are some of the strategies that appeal best?
Free dinner. We provide dinner at all of our events. And I think that's what really drives our students to come to our events, because we do our events at like 6 to 7 p.m. So people are usually either doing homework, so they drop by for a quick bite.
Yeah, we actually only provide, I think, food at very certain events. Most of our general meetings, events, and things like that don't usually have food, so it's kind of hard to convince students easily. But sometimes, like just this past week, we hosted a pre-industry night for our annual industry night coming up, and we hosted it with Johnson & Johnson, which is a medical device company in Orange County. And so we had representatives come, and networking was a really big incentive for students to show up. And so events like that, where we have partnerships, or events where we showcase or teach technical skills that students may be interested in, we do garner a lot of attendance from underclassmen who are looking to get more involved. So it has been harder for upperclassmen to come out. But we try and make sure that our events are unique. Maybe we have a cash prize for like our pitch competition and things like that to incentivize upperclassmen.
Yeah, I would say we also have the similar strategies. We also make sure to have food, and also type of the event also matters. If there's networking option, obviously we will see more participation. But apart from all of these, we also have our own merchandise design. So for example, t-shirts, notebooks, stickers. And even if we don't have a food, sometimes in our events, we make sure that we also advertise those promotional items, because when students receive those free gifts, they are more willing to come and participate at the events.
Someone said, what types of fundraising events have been successful for your chapters?
I would say the pretty common ones are the restaurant fundraising. So we basically contact the restaurants and say, oh, we are this organization and we would like to have a fundraising event with you. And when people or students go to those fundraising events or those restaurants, and some percentage of their purchase basically comes back to us. And that has been the number one secure way of raising funds for our organization. And the second way that we are implementing this semester is basically our students who are taking the Foundations of Engineering Lab course are required to purchase a lab kit. And at the end of the semester, we ask students for the donations, because sometimes those students change their major or they will no longer need to use those lab kits, and they donate us those kits. And then for the next semester, when those new upcoming students want to purchase new kits, we basically sell them. And because we already purchased them for free, we end up making money actually and raising some funds. And that has been we are going to implement it, but I feel like it has a really high chance of raising funds for the organization.
Yeah, I think to add on, doing like creative fundraisers. Last year we did a Valentine's Day fundraiser selling roses and like notes and personalized things, and that worked out really well. So we want to kind of try and see if we can do more creative things like that. We also do charity, like fundraisers for charity. And so getting the faculty and students involved in like a fun activity, and then having participants pay like $2 to $3 each. It's a pretty small amount per person, but because everybody wants to get involved, it turns out to be a larger amount as well. So things like that might be a fun activity to do.
And then we have how often do you meet and how do you structure your meetings to be efficient while making sure everyone is aware of the important things?
Um, I'm sorry. For us, our executive board meets weekly. And each exec board member that has a committee also meets weekly. And each of these meetings have a meeting minutes agenda. So everyone has their little stuff that they go over every meeting, and we keep it very short and to the point and try to give as much feedback as we can. So the meetings are very structured, and we go through all our events, and if anyone like needs events and whatever we have going on, and if anyone needs any feedback, the exec members or the committee members are happy to provide feedback.
Yeah, we also meet weekly. I think our meeting agenda for our board meetings is on our CDR from last year as well. We have a very structured document with everything related to each event first discussed, and then we go over anything new, event feedback, tasks in a very orderly fashion. And then we only have one committee, I believe, for high school outreach, and so they meet like the week before an event. And just to make sure that everything is going according to plan, that things aren't falling behind and things like that. And we usually discuss the week's event and then the next week's event. So just taking it 2 weeks at a time, and making sure that everything is there. And then something we implemented this year was adding a section at the bottom of our document for larger events, just in case somebody wants to bring things up more than 2 weeks in advance, to get a head start on planning those things.
And that seems to have concluded our Q&A session. So for some closing questions, Farida, I want to ask you, what is one piece of advice you would give to student chapters that are aiming to improve their impact, and are hoping to be recognized in the future?
Yes, so I would say I would recommend a student organization to think about what else they could do as an organization to introduce the field of biomedical engineering. Because that was the one thing that we always thought about, and that was how we basically lead our initiatives. And once you actually have the idea, don't be scared and actually implement it. So, for example, we also had our own scares or our own fears when we, for the first time, started the high school mentoring program. Because what if the high school students didn't show up to our events, or what if the attendance was not continuous? But once the activities are getting more engaged, and once we actually have an opportunity for the students to have hands-on experience, the participation will show itself. So that's why they definitely need to think about what they could do to introduce the field of BME and implement the idea and not be scared of that.
Thank you. Meha, looking back, what would you say was the most valuable lesson your chapter learned throughout the process of developing your initiatives?
For developing our initiatives, I would say just like knowing your community, like for us, knowing Urbana-Champaign outside of the university campus is very important. So you can really impact like people who are still in high school or middle school, like for us, Lee Elementary School and Champaign Public Library, and then really marketing your events, not just through our newsletter, our our group chats or our emails, but also to whatever resources you have. Like for us, we have the Granger student portal where we put all our events, so it's available to all Granger students. We put our events in the engineering council newsletter, so all of engineering council's members have information to our events. So just really marketing and caring about your community enough to actually make an event happen. I think that's the most important.
Thank you. And Neha, for the chapters working on their reports right now, what final tips do you have for them to make sure their submission stands out?
I think the number one thing is just to make sure that everything gets talked about and the feedback gets discussed like right after the events and it's written down somewhere. Mainly because like you don't want to curate a CDR super last minute, because no matter how little you think your chapter did, you probably did more than you think. And so curating that document and curating like all your achievements and feedback into that into the CDR requires a lot more effort. And so just making sure that everything is discussed at the time and making sure that like all your events and all the attendance, pictures and everything are curated and put together in a certain area ahead of time. In that way, you are able to communicate how effective your event was, what you want to change in the future as effectively as possible, because you don't forget about it before you write about it. So I think that's definitely the number one tip that I have. And in order to stand out, just communicate your thoughts and your feelings about your event because that's unique to every single person planning an event. So just be as genuine as you can with your CDR because you are doing this for your students.
Thank you so much. So this concludes our webinar. Thank you for joining us and thank you for representing your chapters today. I'd also like to remind everyone that the webinar is being recorded for your convenience and will be available to BMES members on the website. You will be notified via email when the archive material has been posted. And to learn more about upcoming BMES activities and events, please visit bmes.org. And thank you, and everyone have a great rest of your day.